Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. So, the trade deadline is getting closer and closer every single day, and I thought it'd be a good idea to start off with the trade deadline content for this channel by talking about one player from each team who may get traded. Two things here before we get straight into this video. There are a few teams that I do have question marks next to, mainly because I just couldn't think of a player that they can move. If you guys are watching this video, and these videos do get a lot of traction when I do 32 team videos or just trade videos in general. If I say your team and I don't mention a player, let me know in the comments down below what player you guys could move. And lastly, I am going to only mention one player from each team. So, for example, with the Calgary Flames, there's multiple players on Calgary that may get moved, but I specifically targeted one player. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get straight into the video here. So, starting off with the Anaheim Ducks, I have Adam Henrique. Henrique has been in rumors for a very long time now. A lot of these are based off of recent rumors and, also some previous rumors. And some of these may be my speculation too. I may be throwing in guys that, may not be in the rumors, but I think could be a dark horse to get moved. So keep that in mind. But Adam Henrique, not one of those. He's been in rumors for a few years now. He does have one more year left on his contract. I believe he is expiring at 2024. So definitely he'd be a purely rental move, probably for the team that he goes to. Would most likely be a secondary scorer. But as we've seen in multiple years prior, the market is not that good for Henrique. But maybe, just maybe with his contract being up, there may be some interest there from other teams. Arizona, I have Matt Dumba. Matt Dumba has been brought up multiple times. I am, for one, not really on the side of the Dumba rumors. Not because I don't want him to get moved, but more because I don't think he's going to get moved. Just like I have seen him with Minnesota for many years on end, and there's been no interest there. Why would it be any different in Arizona? Matt Dumba has not been that much different with the Coyotes than from the Minnesota Wild. Just when you look at the overall stats, it just is how it is. I think that maybe he'll get some traction, but personally, I can't see him getting moved. But obviously, there aren't a whole lot of Coyotes in the mix for rumors. You could bring up like Karel Vejmelka, but I have not seen that a lot lately. So I'm not sure if that's very possible. Boston Bruins. The Bruins are obviously a buyer team. I do have a player for Boston, though. I put James Van Riemsdyk. There is a debate there for sure that, they may not trade Van Riemsdyk. But if the Bruins see a right offer out there, maybe it's one of the guys that I mentioned on this list. If they see a player out there that they may say, hey, we want that guy. We want him on our team. Maybe they move Van Riemsdyk back the other way. That could be something that we see happen. He could be a guy that, for Boston, could be used as an asset that gets moved for a better player. But Van Riemsdyk is a guy that I could see getting moved there for the Boston Bruins. The Buffalo Sabres, actually, there isn't a lot of Sabres players that may get moved. I have not seen a whole lot of rumors surrounding Buffalo. I said Victor Olofsson, though. Olofsson's been involved in rumors in the past. There were rumors in the offseason. I think that it's very possible that teams may circle back to Olofsson if they, per se, can't find a solid goal scorer, because Olofsson scored very solid in the past. I believe he has a few 30-goal seasons under his belt. So definitely he's a player that, has proved that he can score that amount of goals, and, a purely rental secondary scorer. Maybe that works out for some teams. I think that could be a very good possibility. And Olofsson, just the most likely Buffalo Sabre that may get moved at this deadline. Calgary Flames, I said Elias Lindholm. Now, you could say Noah Hannafin, you could say Chris Tanev, you could even say Jacob Markstrom or Daniel Vladar. There's so many guys you could say for the Calgary Flames. By the way, if you are intrigued by that, I will be making deadline previews for every single team. I'm still trying to figure out when I should start it, but probably in the coming week or so, we're going to start looking at teams. I think post All-Star break is when we're really going to aggressively hit at it. So, yeah. But I have Elias Lindholm there for Calgary. Very solid center. Again, there have been ties to Boston. Maybe Boston goes out and gets Elias Lindholm. I will make videos talking about these players, as I just said, and talking about realistic destinations for them. There definitely are fits for a lot of players here, and teams will be looking for some players. So definitely, Lindholm's one of those guys that I think will for sure get moved. He's expressed that he doesn't really want to stay with the Flames. That could change. I'm not saying that's completely out of the question. It's not 100% confirmed that he wants to leave, but definitely he's gonna be looked at by a lot of teams, and there will be offers out there for sure. Carolina, Tony DeAngelo. There isn't a whole lot there. In Carolina generally. I think DeAngelo could be looked at as just a cap dump. The Canes may want to move him for some cap space. I think that's probably realistic of what's going to happen with him. Apart from that, there isn't a whole lot there for Carolina for guys they can move. So DeAngelo was the one guy that I've seen pop up in rumors. Not sure who would want him, though, but have at him, I guess. Tyler Johnson, then, next up for the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, Chicago, not a whole lot there either. There isn't a whole lot of players that could get moved, mainly because it's a lot of younger guys who are still trying to develop. But yeah, Tyler Johnson has shown at points this season that he can be a really solid center. I think that there are teams out there that are looking for some bottom six, third line depth, and Tyler Johnson looks like he could be a very solid addition to that. So Johnson may be a guy that I see gets moved. Now we have the first question mark team, and Colorado's that first team. I don't have a player that I could see Colorado moving. I looked through some of the numbers and the whole team. I really don't think there's a player they would move. Now, it's possible that they could move like a random player, maybe for other assets, but no player that's been in rumors to be moved, no player that I really think could be moved. It's really, honestly, it's probably if they're going to trade, they're going to buy in for a player, and they're going to just move picks and maybe some prospects too. That's realistically what we're going to see there out of Colorado, which is not abnormal. That was how last year was. Now, Columbus, I know a lot of people are going to say Elvis Merzlikins. I actually have Andrew Peeke here because I don't think Merzlikins is getting moved. We saw Spencer Martin get put on waivers today or yesterday, and he got claimed by Carolina today. So that to me says that they want to keep Merzlikins. If they were going to trade Merzlikins, I think they would have. I'm sure there probably would be a little bit of interest there. But obviously, there's been a lot of criticism on Twitter with Merzlikins, and obviously there's some issues with his game that definitely have stood out a lot in the last couple of years. But I can't see Merzlikins getting moved. Peeke, on the other hand, I can. Peeke, solid defenseman. There are teams out there who are looking for blue liners, and if they're looking for cheaper options, I think Peeke could be the one that they try and target for. So I would expect that, but possibly if you're a Blue Jackets fan. Dallas Stars, I also have question marks next too. I was thinking maybe Ryan Sutter, but that's not like a realistic move maybe. I think that Dallas is going to be a team that buys in, and if they do move a player, it's likely going to be a prospect, but more likely they're going to move draft picks and try and trade for guys. They're probably not going to go out and sell their players off. If they were, it would be Duchesne that would get moved, in my opinion, but they're not a bad team. So definitely the Stars are buyers, so it's kind of hard to determine some buyers players that could get moved. Detroit, they're still kind of in the dark for me. I haven't seen sellers or buyers yet. I said Daniel Sprong. I think Sprong, a player that solid bottom six forward. They could get some solid amount for him at the deadline. There's not a whole lot there. They're not trading Kane. If that was the expectation, they were going to trade Kane, I think we'd know about it by now. And it really wouldn't make sense either to sign him if he wasn't going to stay with the team, not just long term, but through the end of the season. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So yeah, I would say Daniel Sprong's the next best guy. There could be other players that get moved. I know they were thinking about getting a goaltender. That's very possible. They can even buy in too. Like, they're not out of it. They're still very much in it. I believe they are in a playoff spot right now, actually. So definitely, Detroit's one of those teams that's kind of like in a question mark state right now. But for sure, you do want to take into consideration there are guys they could move. Edmonton Oilers, There's Philip Broberg. I put Broberg here because he did say he does want to leave, and there are teams that are going to be looking for defensemen. I also have heard Jack Campbell's name in the conversation there. However, if you want to move the Campbell contract, you're probably going to have to give up a decent amount. I honestly think that it's possible that we could see Campbell and Broberg put together in the same deal and moved off to a team. I think that's very possible. Broberg may be used as an asset to move Campbell, so definitely a possibility there. I've even seen some rumors with Campbell that you may need to move a first-round pick for him, which, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if that's worth the risk. You might want to just hold on to that contract, honestly. Florida, this is an interesting one, and this is one that, Panthers fans may come at me for. It's one that I have considered. It's Anton Lundell. Lundell, I think, could be a guy that may get moved from Florida because we've seen it. He hasn't been that player in Florida. He just hasn't been. He hasn't been the player that he's lived up to expectations to be, and I understand that there may be some other factors that play into that. However, I do think that if the right offer comes along and the Panthers want to buy in and make a massive move at the deadline, maybe Lundell is a player that gets moved for them. I think that's a really big possibility there if you're Florida Panthers. Lundell could get moved. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. The Los Angeles Kings, I put nobody. The Kings, again, they're in a really weird spot. They're struggling a little bit. Towards the deadline, they won't sell, no question about it. Unless if they fall really far out of a playoff spot, which then you're going to be looking at Todd McClellan and all that. But still, I don't think they sell. They have a pretty solid roster. They're probably going to buy in, which means that they're going to trade picks and prospects most likely. Maybe Turcotte. I really don't know with LA. That's another team that, I just can't think of a player that they can move. And again, a lot of the buyers are like that too. The sellers are obviously easier than the buyers, but it's just really difficult right now. The Minnesota Wild, I've seen Pat Maroon in rumors a lot. So I put Pat Maroon. Maroon, fourth liner, veteran presence, a fighter. He's won multiple Stanley Cups with Tampa and won one with St. Louis too. So definitely, he could get moved for a 7th round pick. He's not going to get moved for a lot. I remember when he was traded, he wasn't moved for a lot. So definitely, he's the kind of player that he's going to realistically just, he's not worth a lot. So he's very easy to pick up there. And that's why he's probably the biggest player on the block. The Montreal Canadiens, there's a lot of options here for Montreal. I put Sean Monahan. I have seen Mike Matheson and Jake Allen in rumors, though. Maybe even Caden Primo as well. Could be a guy that maybe gets moved. But Monahan seems like the most realistic for me. Monahan's been very good for Calgary. For Montreal, I do have a Calgary jersey of Monahan, ironically. He's been playing very solid, and I expect for that to continue. But I definitely think that there are going to be teams that look at that and say, we need a third-line center. Our top center's out or something like that. They're going through an injury, and we need a guy who can cover the third-line or the fourth-line center role. Maybe Monahan's the guy you look at and say, yeah, maybe we need him for some good secondary scoring. And I think there are teams that do need secondary scoring that could be looking at that. So moving on now to the Nashville Predators. I have Tyson Barrie for Nashville. Barrie, I've seen in rumors, could be a defender that maybe gets moved. Could be a solid second pairing type player. He's actually been pretty solid on Nashville. But that obviously is a factor if Nashville's in a playoff spot by the trade deadline. I think with Nashville, there's a lot of factors that play into that because obviously the Predators have been a little bit of a surprise considering the fact that, the West was looked at, they were probably going to miss. But no, they've been pretty solid. So definitely Nashville, that's in question there of whether or not they're in a playoff spot. The New Jersey Devils, I have Akira Schmid. Schmid's an interesting one, and this plays a factor with the fact of a trade. If they do want to go out and trade for a goaltender, there's some goalies out there on the market that may get moved. We've seen some names pop up here and there, but Schmid could be a goalie that goes the other way. If you're looking at it realistically, you're going to need to move a goalie the other way if you're the New Jersey Devils, and maybe Schmid's that guy. Maybe Schmid's the guy that gets moved the other way. I don't really know if they move Vanacek. They may move Nico Dawes, Who knows? But I think really Schmid could be the realistic guy that gets moved in a deal. Besides that, I really can't see anyone that gets traded on the Devils, to be honest with you. They're really looking at as buyers. I think a lot of the factors of why they've kind of been like meh playoffs-wise is definitely because of just the injuries they've dealt with. They are an injury-depleted team right now. So if they miss the playoffs, that's probably the reason why. But I think they are going to make a push. I think they're going to try and go out and trade for a goalie. And Schmid may be the guy that helps them out with that. The Islanders, there are really no rumors behind this. But I think Oliver Wahlstrom could get moved. The Islanders are a little bit of a confusing team. But Wahlstrom's young. He's been struggling. Could use a change of scenery, and I think that if, he wanted to get moved from the Islanders, he could go somewhere and probably do pretty solid under a brand new system. I would like Wahlstrom on my team. I would. I think Wahlstrom could be a really solid player. I think just that in the Islanders system, I don't think it's a system where he thrives. I'm not going to lie to you. He doesn't score a whole lot of points. He's not the great offensive guy he was hyped up to be. I think maybe it's time you look at that and say, maybe it's time for a change of scenery. I think it's very possible there if you're the New York Islanders. The Rangers, I have nobody for. The Rangers, again, another team that is a buyer team for sure. But I can't think of a player that they can move out the other way. I was looking at the expiring contracts. It's like Jonathan Quick. They're not moving quick. There's not a whole lot of other names there. So really, I think that they're a team that if they do buy in at the deadline, they're going to make moves for picks and prospects. That's most likely what they're going to aim for there. But yeah, the Rangers, can't really see them trading anybody of big note. Now, a team that I do see trading players of big note is the Ottawa Senators, and I have Jacob Chychrun at the front running there. Chychrun was traded last season from Arizona to Ottawa, and a really good deal for the Senators. However, it looks like Chychrun's kind of lost his desire now to sign long-term with the team. So I think it's possible now that with that news, Ottawa's probably going to move him at the deadline, either this year or next year, but it's looking like it may be this year that he gets traded. There's been a few teams that have checked in on him, like the Los Angeles Kings, like the Edmonton Oilers, the Maple Leafs, teams that we saw in the races for him last year, obviously. But, of course, now definitely there is going to be some more traction for him because his contract, comparatively speaking to some other defensemen, is actually very solid. So definitely he's a guy that I could see getting moved. The Philadelphia Flyers is Sean Walker. Now, I think if you're Philadelphia, and I'm a Flyers fan, I think you stay put. And I know that there's going to be a lot of teams and a lot of fans that say, who the hell is Sean Walker? I get it. Walker, not really that well known of a guy, but I believe he is expiring this coming season. He's a player who loves Philadelphia, who's been playing awesome in Philadelphia, scored a goal against the Dallas Stars the other night, has been playing very well. However, if the Flyers do fall out of a playoff spot, which it really isn't looking like they will, I feel like if they were going to, they would have by now. We are almost in February, and they're in a playoff spot, so I think, honestly, they're going to stay put. But if they do fall off, Walker's a guy who could get traded. And even if Philadelphia is in a playoff spot and they want to sell, I'd kind of be fine with it as a Flyers fan. I really wouldn't be all too mad because I think that they have exceeded expectations. They've done really well. And I think that if they want to push for playoffs, they shouldn't go all in it. They shouldn't buy in. No way. No chance. Pittsburgh is an interesting one. Jake Guentzel. Now, Guentzel's been brought up a lot of times in rumors in the past couple of weeks. There have been rumors that he may want to not sign long-term in Pittsburgh for his final contract and go play somewhere else. I completely understand why. Crosby's getting up there in age. Malkin's retiring. Letang's going to retire as well. So those guys are obviously nearing the end of their careers. There's no doubt about it. They're getting old. So I get why Guentzel will be thinking about that. He's going to be 30 years old by the time he signs his next contract. So definitely there is some consideration there for him to get moved. And obviously he's probably going to sign an 8-year contract. So he's going to be, that'll take him till he's 38. It's just a matter of if it's in Pittsburgh or not. And I think a lot of what will influence that is Sidney Crosby. So definitely that is something there that we do want to keep an eye on. But maybe he gets moved, maybe not. I honestly can't see a world where he's not in Pittsburgh, though. Just being brutally honest with you. The San Jose Sharks, Anthony Duclair. Duclair has been in rumors for a little bit now. He always gets moved at the deadline. He's always a player that's always in talks. He's played well in San Jose on a team that hasn't been very good. So definitely, if I'm the San Jose Sharks, I'm looking for some pretty solid prospects and some picks with him. I think that realistically, he's probably worth a second-round pick and a B-level prospect. Maybe you get a first for him if you go to the right team. But San Jose, Duclair is definitely their best player that could get moved and the most realistic for me. I obviously think that with Anthony Duclair, he's been moved a lot, and on a team that's very solid, like let's say maybe he goes back to Florida. I'm not saying that happens, but he could. I think that definitely he's a very solid, like good goal scorer to have on your second or third line. He can score goals for you a lot. So definitely a very reliable player there in Anthony Duclair, and I've liked him a lot throughout the many years. He's a very likable player. The Seattle Kraken, another team that I have question marks for. Again, another team that I can't think of any players they would move. I'm sure there are names out there that you may say, but honestly, it looks like they're pushing for playoffs, so I really can't say for sure if, they're going to move this guy or move this guy. They're looking like they will either stay put or just buy in. I think that's realistically what we're going to see out of Seattle there if you're the Kraken. The St. Louis Blues, not a whole lot there either. I've seen Sammy Blais, maybe. I put Sammy Blais as an option. I think he's a good fourth liner on a good contract. Expires next season. It's just all a matter of if he wants to stay in St. Louis or not. That is the factor there that I think plays into Sammy Blais. But besides that, I think he's probably a player that may get moved there for the St. Louis Blues. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I put Calvin DeHaan. I don't have a whole lot of options there when I looked at the team. I think that if a team's looking for a depth, third-pairing defender, maybe Calvin DeHaan's the guy that gets moved. But honestly, there isn't a whole lot there for Tampa either. Just not a whole lot of options there. Again, it looks like they are going to buy in, even if they do fall out of a playoff spot by then. They're going to buy in, and no, they're not trading Steven Stamkos. That is not happening. They already said that's not going to happen. Toronto, I have Samsonov. Samsonov, not really that good of a pick, to be honest with you. I'm going to admit that. But there isn't a whole lot of options there if you're Toronto. They're definitely a team that, they're looking to buy in. They've been looking at some of the guys I've mentioned on this list that they're interested in. But again, they want to move money. Samsonov's going to be the first guy that they look at to move because his contract isn't all too great. It's not, terrible, but it's still the first contract that they'll move. But yeah, definitely, if they want to buy into the deadline, Samsonov's the guy that could go the other way for sure. Vancouver, Andrei Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko did not think we'd see Kuzmenko get moved at this point in his career. Definitely not, actually. I really did not think this whatsoever, but it looks like Rick Tocchet, the coach of the Canucks, does not like Kuzmenko. So definitely that is something there that you're going to be looking at. I don't know if it's a deadline thing because Kuzmenko does have some contract time in his contract. So maybe, and it's all a part of if he wants to stay. If he doesn't want to stay, if he wants to leave, then yeah, he'll get moved. But if he really likes Vancouver and wants to stay, then I think he'll stay, even if Tocchet doesn't like him. But yeah, definitely, Kuzmenko's a guy that we may see get moved sooner rather than later. Vegas, I have nobody for. I couldn't think of anyone for Vegas. If it's going to be Vegas, again, it's either picks or prospects. There isn't a whole lot of names out there that Vegas could really move. A lot of guys are really high above the cap. I've seen Alec Martinez as a rumor, but I'm not too sure if Martinez will get moved because he is injured right now, and he is fairly old, actually. He is fairly getting up there in age. And then Washington, I have Anthony Mantha. Mantha, not a good pick here either. I apologize. But still, high contract expiring next season. If the Capitals wanted to buy in and make a move for cap, they would probably move Anthony Mantha. And then finally, for the Winnipeg Jets, I have nobody. The Jets, again, a team that's buying in. Can't see a guy that the Jets would move. Maybe they move like Logan Stanley for assets, but really not all entirely too sure there what guys they would move on that Jets team. So yeah, that is one player, pretty much, from every single team that may get traded in the 2024 trade deadline. Again, as I mentioned, in the coming days, we will start our trade deadline previews. I want to wait till the All-Star break, make the state of every single division. At the All-Star break, I'm going to do division, not team for this time, because obviously the All-Star break is like multiple days long, and it wouldn't make much sense to really do it any other way. But yeah, that's the way I want to do it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anywho, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.